Hey, you know what time it is.
Dude, I watched a movie last night.
Ooh, I really like that music. So thank you to Wilco and Katie, again, from Tokyo Bay Films, for making that cool intro to Dude, I watched a fucked up movie last night. I'm not really sure how fucked up this movie is. I'm not convinced it's a fucked up movie, but god damn it, it is a fun movie that makes very little sense and it's crazy. So, we're looking at, because you've seen it in the thumbnail and you've seen it in the title, but anyway, I'll tell you. The 1985 film from North Korea, 불가사리.
불가사리가?
So let's check out what the movie's about, and then we'll have a chat about why it's fucked up. In this movie, a group of villagers are forced to surrender all their iron, including pots and farm tools, to the army for their war efforts. The army demands the local blacksmith to create weapons for them using this reclaimed iron, but he refuses and is thrown in jail. He goes on a hunger strike, and just before he dies, he's visited by his daughter. He gives her a small figure made of rice in the shape of a monster. Later that week, as she's stitching some fabric, she pricks her finger and her blood drips on the figure, causing it to come to life. It starts small, but this monster grows bigger and bigger as it consumes more iron, until it gets so large that it becomes a threat to the king and his army. The villagers use the monster, called PULGASARI, to defeat the king and his army. However, once defeated, they realize they're indebted to a creature who will eat all their tools. So I think I can relate a little bit to Pulgasari, because, I like to eat everything in the house. That's why I'm so damn fat. But that's besides the point. This is one of the strangest films I've seen in a while. Now, this movie has a long history, and I think everyone knows the story of the history, and I'm not going to bother retelling it because I'll probably fuck it up and not get it right at all. But, something about being kidnapped by the North Korean president and forced to make a whole shitload of movies, and they decided that they wanted to make their own Godzilla ripoff, blah, blah, blah. Who cares? Eventually he escaped from North Korea and went on and made, Three Ninjas Kick Back, the sequel. So how's that for a suite of films from the director? This movie, made in 1985. Now, you can look at a movie from 1985 and know that they had far better tools to create movies. But this movie was clearly looking at technology back in the 40s to the 60s. And I've got here in my notes there that it's an homage to 40s to 60s filmmaking, but it's definitely not an homage to anything. It is just using their techniques. Now, what are those techniques, you ask? Okay, well, the first one and the most obvious one is that they filmed the guy in the Pulgasari suit, and then they project him on a screen behind, and then they have the actors do their shit in front of not shit, but you know what I mean. They have the actors do their bit in front of that projected screen. So, they use that a lot in the 60s, 70s, 80s, like dudes surfing, and they'd have them on a surfboard, and they'd have, waves in the background, and some dude would be off camera just throwing buckets of water at them, or mostly when there's driving sequences, and, they're driving and they're turning the wheel like this, although, come to think of it, back then they had no power steering in the car, so turning the wheel like this actually wouldn't have done anything. And you can see the street in the background, constantly looping. So that technique's used in this film. Then we've got a few other techniques. You've got a guy in a suit. And the guy, very clearly a guy in a suit. And it looks great. I've got to say, the Pulgasari costume looks awesome. But there are scenes when the Pulgasari is lying down and he tries to get up. And you can tell that it's a fabric suit that he's wearing, because over his pecs, the fabric starts to crease up. So, you can't really hold that against him. Then there's the miniatures. So the scenes towards the end where Pulgasari is destroying the king's house and all that other shit, right? Which confuses me. Why he destroys all the houses when the villagers could just move into them, right? But anyway, that's besides the point. When he's destroying their houses, they're all models. And they look pretty good. Clearly, this movie had some kind of budget because there's a lot of destruction in this movie. And I always rate movies, budget-wise, by how much destruction they have. And the more destruction and the more shit gets destroyed, I realize that the movie has a decent budget. And I go watch a very low-budget movie on your favorite web streaming web service and notice that there'll be no real damage. There'll be no real blood in the movie, right? It's because they don't have the budget. But this one does. This one, they destroy shit. And it's fun to watch them destroying shit. And then you've got, they're the three main effects in the film. Oh no, there's a couple of, I think there's a couple of optical effects where they've, drawn over the Pulgasari and flashed him a different color, usually blue. I'm not 100% familiar with what that technique's called, but that is in the film as well. Now, the version that I watched, which is probably the same version that everyone else has watched, and it's the version that's available on a website called Cool Cult Films or something like that, right? And it's available for free to stream on this website if you're interested. Is what appears to be a dump of the Japanese DVD, which is the same footage that I'm showing you here with the English subtitles. And the quality is utterly horrendous. This movie really deserves a preservation effort to be made to it. And knowing the idea of preservation, it's probably going to be really difficult to ever achieve for this film. Well, at least in the short term. But it does deserve it. Because you can see the cigarette marks in the video. And for those who don't know what cigarette marks are used for, that's usually an indicator to the projectionist that the reel is coming to an end and to change reels over. So to see a movie with cigarette marks still in a videoed release means that the film hasn't been telecined properly. Or it was literally just telecined and dumped. No one's done any cleanup on this video. And that's what I mean. This movie does deserve a bit of restoration. This movie does deserve a bit of TLC effort because it's a kind of a fun film. Now, here's a bit of trivia for you. The movie was kind of remade. Not exactly remade, but kind of remade. In 1996 in the US as a kids movie called Galgameth. So it's based on that film. It's not a remake of it, but that's just something you might be interested in that. If you can't watch Pulgasari, maybe watch Galgameth. Kind of very different themes. The movie does something that I actually really don't like. And it gives off a bit of a television vibe. And by that, I mean, and I'm going to give a weird example here. And if you're not from Australia, you're probably not going to understand what I'm on about. But there is a TV show in Australia, was a TV show called Skippy. It's about a kangaroo. It's Aussies and kangaroos. And the running joke was that Skippy would go up to the kids and he would just go, which is weird because kangaroos don't make that sound. And the kids would know what he's talking about. Oh, Skippy, what's that? Grandpa face down by the barn it's on fire. We can't get to it because there's a fucking tree in the way. The police can't get there for 30 minutes. It's that kind of shit, right? In this movie, everyone knows everything. Like, how the fuck does everyone know everything? So in one scene, you might have the villagers talking about, how they want to attack the army. And I'm using a very weird example because I don't actually think this happens, right? But then in the next shot, it's the army. And they're talking about how the villagers are about to attack them. Well, how would you know that? Who's told you this information? No one's sitting there spying on them. There's definitely no rat in the ranks because God knows that time they probably didn't have that kind of shit going on. It's just, it's weird. So in order to keep pushing the movie along, this happens. Now, otherwise, the movie would have taken 2 and a bit hours long. As, the scriptwriters there trying to work out how everything's going to fit together. So clearly, a logical plot was not part of this movie's MO. It was all about Pulgasari. And just Pulgasari being a bit of a cunt, to be honest. I'd have to say he is being a bit. Now, what throws my mind and makes this a fucked up movie was I don't get how this movie was greenlit. Now, I understand that the little psycho running the country at the time wanted a monster film. But the theme of this movie is villagers overthrowing the king. Villagers creating a revolution to overthrow the king. Now, they do it by using a false idol. In this case, Pulgasari. And the message there is, and they even kind of say it towards the end, the message is, beware of who your idols are, because they might be worse than your enemy. And in this case, it was because Pulgasari constantly needs to eat. And the farmers and villagers, once they've defeated the army, realize that they need to keep feeding this or he's going to, die, obviously, or get angry and smash everything up. So they surrender their farm tools and they surrender what cooking utensils they have because they feel indebted to Pulgasari to feed him until the daughter and realizes that by doing this, they're all going to die. And she even says, in order for us to survive, we're going to have to invade other countries and take over the world. Think about that as a theme in North Korea. That's the theme of the movie. So she decides to sacrifice herself at the end to Pulgasari
불가사리가
so that he can die and they can live. Now, she also ends up living, and we have to talk about her because there is not a scene where the daughter is in the film where she does not look absolutely stunning. She does not look like a village girl at all. In some scenes, she's got lipstick on and her cheeks are all make-upped and her hair is done perfectly. Village Girl, my ass, right, is clearly a movie production. And that's the vibe. It's a very melodramatic movie production. But it's fun. Pulgasari
불가사리야.
is a lot of fun. And even if the local North Korean audience don't understand the theme, but I bet they do. I don't think anyone's stupid enough to not understand the theme of this movie was to overthrow the king. I think it's a great theme for a film. And I think that it's actually done quite well. All things considered. If there was an opportunity to get a remastered version of this on Blu-ray, I would love to own it. I don't think that that's ever going to happen. Because by the time someone can smuggle a print of that film out of that country, I don't think we'll even have Blu-ray anymore, which is a bit of a shame. But, this movie exists, that you can watch it now. It is probably one of the only movies from North Korea you'll ever watch. And I would recommend that you watch it. Now, I am not a Godzilla fan. Surprise, surprise. And I've only ever seen 2 Godzilla films, and they're both American. And that's the one from 1998 with Matthew Broderick, and of course Godzilla vs. Kong, which I really enjoyed. I actually thought that was a lot of fun. Don't laugh at me. I actually own a Godzilla film on disc over there. I've never watched it though. So I can't compare this to that. I can compare it to other monster movies, and certainly in the scheme of other monster movies, I reckon this comes middle towards high. It's a lot of fun. It really is a lot of fun. It's just stupid. So how fucked up is it? Well, this is where it gets a bit unfair. Because I believe it's a really good film. And I believe it's moderately fucked up. But you've got to put everything in the context of what it is. It's a North Korean movie with a director being held at gunpoint, essentially, to make the movie. It's got really decent effects, and it's got a theme of overthrowing the government, the king. I mean, that actually technically makes it a really fucked up movie. But my rating's going to be moderately fucked up. So if you've seen Pulgasari,
불가사리야.
and I hope you have, leave a comment below and let me know what your thoughts are. If you want to watch Pulgasari, go to tmdb.org, the movie database.org, and look up Pulgasari. There's a link there to watch the film. Now, there was a link for me in Australia to watch it for free. I don't know whether that'll apply for you. So maybe a VPN's in order. But the movie is available legally for free to watch. Of course, you could go to your favorite illegal site and probably find it as well if you want to risk it. But definitely, it is available for free to watch. I've been the Arty Dans, and I've really enjoyed talking about Pulgasari.
불가사리가
I don't know what the next Dude I Watched a Fucked Up movie will be, or even if when the next one will be coming out. But if you've got recommendations, leave them down below. Thank you for watching this video. Thank you for listening to my rant. And thank you for leaving a comment below with your thoughts as well. I appreciate it. I'll catch you, and I will, next time. Thanks.